I didn't buy the house because it was beautiful. I bought it because it felt controllable. That might sound strange, but when you grow up learning that safety can be interrupted without warning, control becomes more important than comfort. You stop asking whether a place feels warm or inviting. You ask whether it feels predictable. When I was 8 years old, our house was robbed while we slept. Nothing violent happened. No one came into my room. No one touched me. But I woke up to a sound that didn't belong to the house. A drawer opening somewhere far enough away that I couldn't see it, but close enough that I knew it was real. That was the night I learned something my body never forgot. Things can be happening while you believe everything is fine. Even now, decades later, silence still feels temporary. So when I bought my own house, years later I didn't ease into feeling safe. I prepared. The first thing I installed wasn't a bed or a couch. It was cameras. I told myself it was reasonable. Everyone does it now. Technology is cheap. Crime statistics are unpredictable. But the truth was simpler and harder to admit. I needed proof. Proof that the spaces around me were empty when they were supposed to be. Proof that nothing was happening when I wasn't looking. I installed cameras in the front yard, the backyard, every hallway, the living room, the basement, and the study, especially the study. Even before anything happened, that room felt different. Not colder, not darker, just quieter in a way that felt deliberate. The house had been fully renovated. New drywall, new floors, modern lighting. But the study still felt like it belonged to an older version of the house. Like it was remembering something the rest of the structure had been taught to forget. I ignored that feeling. I've learned that not every instinct deserves attention. For the first few nights, the cameras showed exactly what I wanted them to show. Empty rooms, still air. No movement except the slow shift of shadows when cars passed outside. I watched the feeds every night before sleeping. Sometimes again if I woke up, just to confirm what I already knew. Until the third night. At 2:17 a.m., the study camera flickered. Not static, not a blackout, just a brief distortion, like the image bent inward for a fraction of a second. I rewound it immediately. Frame by frame, there was nothing I could confidently identify. No clear shape, no movement, just a slight darkening near the back corner of the room. I marked the time, labeled it a compression issue. That explanation lasted until the next night. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same corner, same distortion. That was when I stopped trusting coincidence. By the end of the week, I noticed something else. The distortion didn't appear randomly. It waited. The feed would remain perfectly stable until 2:17 a.m., then bend inward at the exact same point, like something was stepping into a space that didn't quite exist anymore. Glitches don't behave like that. The first time I recognized the shape, my reaction wasn't fear, it was confusion. On the monitor, the study looked empty, but something was occupying space, a density in the air that bent straight lines, just enough to notice if you stared long enough. It didn't move, it didn't react. It just stood there. I did what anyone would do. I tested it. I stood in the study while watching the live feed on my phone. In the room itself, there was nothing. Clean walls, empty corner. On the screen, the shape remained. Uninterrupted, unconcerned. That was when fear arrived. Not sudden, not sharp. Something slower, heavier, harder to reason away. Because whatever I was seeing wasn't interacting with me at all. I began documenting everything. Timestamps, duration, pixel distortion, night-to-night comparison. The shape never left the corner, but sometimes it shifted slightly. A few centimeters to the left, a few centimeters back. Always returning to the same position by morning. It wasn't wandering, it was adjusting, as if responding to something invisible. I increased the resolution. That was a mistake. The clearer the footage became, the more obvious it was that the shape didn't align with the current layout of the room. It overlapped shelves, passed partially through drywall, occupied empty air. It wasn't haunting the house as it existed now. It was haunting the house as it remembered itself. I found old photographs. Before the renovation, the study was smaller, darker, built around a large wooden cabinet fixed directly into the wall. In every photo, the cabinet stood exactly where the shape appeared, and the shape always leaned slightly forward, as if watching something behind it. The night after I discovered that, the figure became clearer. Not sharper, but more defined. Shoulders, posture, the suggestion of hands held close to the body. Its head angled downward, not toward the camera, toward the wall. That realization kept me awake because it meant the ghost wasn't watching me. It was watching something that no longer existed. I measured the room, compared it to the old photos. The cabinet had been deeper than it looked, built partially into the foundation. Something had been hidden behind it. Removing the drywall felt wrong, not dangerous, intimate, like opening something that had been deliberately sealed. Behind it, embedded in the original structure, was a small steel safe. Unopened, untouched. Inside the safe was a ring. Old, heavy, worn smooth by hands that had held it for generations. Inside the band were names, etched one over another, each added by hand. A lineage pressed into metal. That night, the cameras changed. The study corner was empty. Instead, the shape appeared in the hallway, standing directly in front of where the safe had been. Waiting, I didn't sleep. I watched as the shape appeared near the kitchen, then the living room. Always near where I placed the ring, never touching it, never reaching for it, just present. That's when I realized something that made my stomach tighten. The ghost didn't know where the ring had gone. I tested it. I moved the ring to a drawer. The shape appeared near the drawer. I moved it to a closet. The shape appeared in front of the closet door, not immediately. After a delay, as if learning. For days, I debated what to do. I told myself it was just an object, but the house felt heavier every time I considered keeping it. The cameras showed the shape closer now, in doorways, at the edges of rooms, never threatening, just aware. I researched the first owner. He had died alone in the house, but he had a grandson, still alive. I didn't contact him right away. I wasn't sure what I believed. I wasn't sure what I was responsible for, but the longer I waited, the more restless the house became. When I finally met the grandson, he was already old, hands shaking, eyes sharp. When I mentioned his grandfather, his face tightened. When I mentioned the ring, he closed his eyes. He told me his grandfather spoke about it constantly, said it was meant to be passed down, said it carried the memory of the family. When his grandfather died, the ring vanished, and something in him never settled. When I placed the ring in his hand, he cried quietly, not from joy, from relief. That night, the cameras showed nothing, no distortion, no shape, just empty rooms. The house feels lighter now, but I still check the feeds, because I understand something I didn't before. Some ghosts don't stay because they want to. They stay because something important was left unfinished. And until it's resolved, they keep watching.